Welcome to the PowerPoint slides that are the review for the second University Arts 1 test. I'm doing this because we had some technical difficulties in one of our classes, and it seemed unfair that that class shouldn't get the advantage of seeing the PowerPoint review. So for the rest of you, lucky you get to hear my voice telling you things I've already told you. So this is obviously the Roman Empire, and if you look at it, you can see that Italy, France, Britain, Egypt, Mesopotamia, all those places were once part of the Roman Empire. And if you notice on Britain, there's even a line that shows you Hadrian's Wall between Britain and Scotland that was built to keep the barbarians out. This, of course, is an aqueduct using that quintessentially Roman engineering device, the arch, which they borrowed, of course, from the Etruscans. Here's Augustus of Prima Porta. It's a representation of Octavian, who later gets called Augustus Caesar. He's the first official emperor. And if you're wondering about the tacky version of the statue on the right, that's because it appears that the Romans actually painted their statues. Here's the Colosseum in Rome. And here is Julius Caesar, who made himself dictator for life. He was a general, he conquered large parts of what's now France, he came back terribly wealthy, and he had an interesting life, including an affair and a son with Cleopatra. The t-shirt there is his most famous boast, Vini Vidi Vici, or Vini Vidi Vici, depending on how you want to say it. Here's the Pantheon, and you know it's the Pantheon rather than the Parthenon because of the dome. Here's a Roman with portrait busts of his ancestors. And here is a bath, and this bath happens to be at a place called Bath in England, which of course they called it that because, well, the Roman baths were there. And no, the water was not green like this in the original Roman baths. Here's Trajan's victory column, and you can see that his victory campaign is being depicted in a kind of comic book-like manner, spiraling up to the top of the column. Here's a mosaic which shows gladiators, and I like it because it has their names attached. And here is the Great Wall of China, because of course you might want to compare the Qin and Han empires to the Roman Empire. Here's a copy of a terracotta warrior that I found in a mall in Markham, Ontario. Someone lost his toque, and I guess someone thought the terracotta warrior looked cold. Here's some symbols from early Christianity, a person standing in the orans position, a mosaic of a fish, for those of you who are on fish patrol, and also the Chi Rho symbol, which also looks like Pax. And if you look carefully, you'll notice the Alpha and Omega symbol are there too. Here's Jesus with the evangelists, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And again, they must be holding my horse till I get on. This one's a mosaic. This is an image of the Emperor Justinian, and one of the questions you might want to ask yourself is how can you tell that he's a Christian emperor? Here's two images from mystery cults on the top, Mithra, and the one that looks like Mary and Jesus is in fact Isis and Horus, because Isis was also one of the goddesses worshipped in the mystery cults. At the bottom you have on the left a basilica, which was the form that the early churches took, and more Christian symbols. This is Hagia Sophia. It's a church that was built in Constantinople when it was Christian, and later on when Constantinople turns into Istanbul and is taken over by the Turks, it becomes a mosque, and that's when the minarets, the pointy towers, are added. Here's the interior. You can see the calligraphic decorations and also the beautiful use of light. This is the interior of a mosque. Again, note the calligraphy as decoration. And here again. This is a mihrab niche, and the niche is the thing that's in every mosque that points in the direction of Mecca, the holy city. So if you're in a mosque and you need to know what direction Mecca is, this is what you look for. Why do people need to know what direction Mecca is? The tradition is that you face that direction when you pray 5 times a day. And here's Mecca. This is the Kaaba that people go on Hajj or pilgrimage to see. This is a Buddhist stupa, S-T-U-P-A, and in front of the stupa are some gates that are called the Torana gates. This is my brother and I walking up to see a big Buddha. Notice his long earlobes. It means he's a prince. The Buddha, not my brother. Here's the Buddha again. You'll notice he has a halo, which means that halos are not exclusively a Christian thing. And if you look at the sign he's making with his hands, the mudra, you should be able to figure out what he's doing here. This is the close-up of the Tirana gates that I was talking about. You can look for some Buddhist symbols here that you probably know. This is an artifact from the Germanic tribes from the beginning of the Middle Ages, around the time of the fall of Rome. And of course, we know that the Germanic tribes were somewhat nomadic, semi-nomadic, which is why they would have had small objects that they could carry with them, like this purse cover, which is actually decorated in a technique called cloisonné. They were a warlike people, so we also find things like swords, shields, helmets, etc. I like it that this helmet appears to have a mustache. And here is Charlemagne on his equestrian statue, which makes him sort of reminiscent of some of the Roman emperors, except of course for the fact that Charlemagne's equestrian statue is 9.5 inches tall. This is an illuminated manuscript. You can tell that it's from the Christian tradition because of the cross, but if you look at the interlaced pattern, you'll notice that it's not that different from what we were seeing in the decorations in the interiors of mosques. This is also a manuscript illumination. This is a capital letter T, and interestingly, the king sitting in the middle of the capital letter T, that's Charlemagne again. And you know, of course, that Charlemagne was all about manuscripts because he hired many scholars who copied out Roman manuscripts in Carolingian minuscule. I hope this helps, and happy studying.